The Bobby O Show.
Welcome to the Bobby O Show. My name is Bob O. Potzner. I'm an attorney in Danbury, Connecticut, and I have what I think is going to be a very enjoyable show in this very interesting time of the year. Today is November 1st. It's the first day of the year of November of 24 rather, excuse me. You see, I'm all excited because the election is going to happen next week. It's time to vote. I just want to remind you, vote and the choice is yours. Don't vote and the choice is theirs. I've already voted. Everyone here knows I'm a supporter of Kamala. And you saw on the opening that you saw a picture of me with Chris Murphy, who's running for re-election for the U.S. Senate. I'm supporting him as well. So please get out and vote. My birthday is November 5th, and I've already assigned to Kamala Harris my birthday wish. So when I blow out the candles, it's for her victory. But that's not going to be the topic of today's show directly. Today, I have a wonderful young lady who is a medical doctor, an entrepreneur, and much more talented in many other respects as well. In fact, one of the fun things when I do these shows is that I meet people, we talk, and the theme of the show changes as we get to know each other more and more. And therefore, today's show is going to be just a conversation with Natalia Khosla. She's a doctor who I met in Sorrento, Italy. Natalia, how are you? I don't see Natalia on the screen. There you
Hi.
are. There you
Yeah.
are. How are you?
I'm great. So wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me, and I'm really excited to chat.
It's really cool how we met. I was on a vacation, actually a destination wedding turned to a vacation in Italy. And the third out of four legs was Sorrento in Italy. And I'm sitting next to a very nice couple. It was your parents. And then you and I started talking, and I found out about what you're doing. And I thought you'd be a great person for a remote show, which we're going to do one today and certainly at least one more because you're a very talented person, have a lot of different things that you do. Can you please just give us a brief background, starting, let's say, from your background of your family up to what you're doing now? Just briefly, we'll get into those topics more in specific.
Yeah, definitely. So, brief overview of like my career in life. I was born in the suburbs of Chicago. Both of my parents are immigrants from India and physicians themselves as well. My mom is a hematologist oncologist who's spent about the last 10 to 15 years focused in her career on breast cancer specifically. She's also a fellowship program director of the oncology fellowship and also her division chief. My dad is an interventional cardiologist, so he does procedural, more surgical care, and is also his division chief and a fellowship director. So I grew up in a very academic medical environment and also as the child of immigrants. Growing up, I went to school kind of in the suburbs of Chicago, but then in high school, we moved into University of Chicago Lab School, which is on the south side of Chicago in the city and is actually on the University of Chicago campus. I got a very different experience being in a city environment, had a very diverse class. I think it gave me a early eye as to my interests in kind of diversity, identity, race, and gender. Went on after that, I think I had a strong inkling I wanted to go into medicine, but had a lot of other interests too, including dance and, equity work. So I went from there to Yale for undergrad, got my first East Coast experience, which was actually very eye-opening. For example, before coming to the East Coast, I had never heard of field hockey as a sport. I learned about that, among various other things like the field of finance itself. May come as a surprise to many viewers, but I didn't know about that. I had grown up around lawyers and doctors almost exclusively.
Lawyers? Oh my God, lawyers!
Lawyers.
Oh, sorry to hear that part of it. Did you play
Yeah.
field hockey, by the way, at Yale?
I did not, but my roommate and one of my close friends did. And so I was, very intrigued to learn kind of a whole set of cultural norms on the East Coast.
I was at Yale as well a few years before you, of course. I was in Jonathan Edwards Residential College. What college was yours? What was your college?
I was in Saybrook.
Great place. So in any event, after Yale, you probably did nothing at all, right? Just went to the beach for a couple of years and that's it. Or am I wrong?
I considered it. At Yale, I got very interested in kind of bias and interpersonal bias in particular, and discrimination studies from a psychology perspective. I majored in psychology, wanted to dive deeper into it, particularly from a gender studies perspective. So I applied for Fulbright scholarship. Was lucky to be awarded one and got the chance to go over to the London School of Economics to do a Fulbright scholarship where I received my master's in gender studies and social and economic policy.
Let me stop you right there because some people may not realize I, as a Yale graduate, I'm aware of some of these programs. Fulbright scholarship is a very, very prestigious scholarship award to get for students. So you just mentioned Fulbright scholarship, but that's very, very significant. And you should be very proud of getting that kind of scholarship and giving you the chance to study at the London School of Economics. That's really something to be very proud of. So then after you finished with that, and by the way, before we get to what you did next, I want to go to your dancing for a second, because I didn't realize until a little bit ago about your dancing. So aside from all this academic thing you did, and by the way, we're going to tie this all in together, believe it or not, because the theme of the story was supposed to be about your work as an entrepreneur in AI as it relates to medical field. But let's just build you up as to who you are. So I'm going to ask Candy Ann first show the couple of pictures we have of Natalia as a dancer, and then we'll show a video of Natalia doing a dance that I had never seen before. Candy Ann, my director, can you put those photos on? Is that you, really?
That is me, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this is the video, I think, but you're going to show the video yourself. Okay?
Yeah, this is one of the stills of the video when Shah Rukh Khan came to campus.
Let's go to the other pictures first, before your video. We'll come back to, this is very important. We'll come back to that in a second. That's about your work in diversity. That's you as well?
Mm-hmm.
How recently is that?
That was a year and a half ago.
Okay, so you're still dancing actively. And the last photo.
Yeah.
And this
one is my college Bhangra team. So Bhangra is the dance we do there, North Indian folk dance, and it was from one of our competitions.
Before we get to the video you have that you're going to share with us, I want to get back to something that you mentioned that I really wasn't aware of until our prep show. I always do a prep show before my shows. You mentioned you're a daughter of immigrant parents. And I think in this day and age, with the election we have going on and with all the nastiness we're hearing from the Republican Party and President Trump about immigrants, can you tell me a little bit about your parents? They were born in India, correct? And they came over a little later in life?
Yeah, absolutely. So they were born in India and raised, both of them. They didn't come to the U.S. until they were about 22 or 23, and that's after they got married. So, they really spent the majority of their formative years in India, and then we were born here. And I would say, their experience as immigrants fully influences so much of my life. I mean, I can't talk about myself without explaining where we're from and stuff, because like I was mentioning to you, like when you're a kid of immigrants, you grow up in like two worlds. You grow up inside your house where you're speaking a different language. There's different cultural norms. Like in Indian households, it's very normal to open the fridge and there's multiple jars of yogurt. Like on the outside, it looks like yogurt, but on the inside, it's like various Indian foods. Like you should never expect the yogurt container has yogurt in it because storage, that's just such a norm. And then, going outside our house to American norms, I was kind of learning to do two cultures at once. So it gave me like an early mindset to that.
The thing that really strikes me is you and I are similar in the fact that, other than the fact we both went to Yale, is that we are both children of immigrants. And it really annoys me that when I hear people today in 2024 talking about immigrants are bad people or whatever phrase, I won't use the words that are being used from the Republican Party, especially President Trump. And they talk about how they're not educated or whatever they want to say, but you're an example and you're more typical than what Mr. Trump talks about. And that is your family, well-educated people came over in their early 20s, and look at the daughter that has developed from them. In fact, when I first met them before I met you in Italy, they were kfelling. Kfelling, when they talked about you, Kfelling is a Yiddish word meaning their buttons were bursting in their shirts of pride for their daughter. So that was very important to me. And I just hearing your story, the little bit you've shared with us so far, it says a lot about the fact that this country is a country of immigrants. Any comment about that further, Natalia, before I go on?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't more strongly agree with you. Obviously, I've been like extremely disturbed by the, just poisonous rhetoric we're hearing from the Conservative Party right now. Not only does it so aggressively misalign with my experience, but it's obviously inflammatory and inaccurate. For me, like I was sharing with you before, I think that being the child of immigrants actually has so much to do, and I'm sure for you too, with my desire for achievement. I think for me, I have this sense that my parents sacrificed so much. Like, I can't imagine leaving my life and my country that I'm from at a young age, like 21, 22, moving to a place where they speak a different language and like leaving my whole family, all my college friends behind to start a life. And it gave me so much. And I really strongly feel now that because they gave so much, it's my job to take it to the next level and to achieve an even higher bar. And so I would say that immigrants are probably the lifeblood of this country, and to try to suggest that they are something negative is baffling to me, honestly.
Just before I do the video that you're going to show us, because I want to tie in the dancing to development of you as a person. After Yale and after the London School of Economics, essentially you went to University of Chicago Medical School. Is that correct?
Yeah. So after the London School of Economics, I, became very interested in. I always knew I wanted to combine medicine with something. Got into policy there, so I ended up doing a year at a think tank in New York, in between, called Demos, which was started by a Yale alumna as well, on neighborhood segregation and food deserts. And then after that, I went over to University of Chicago for medical school. And from there, kind of my journey went in a few directions. Like I mentioned, one direction was kind of taking dance much more seriously and pursuing it professionally for a bit, combining dance therapy with medicine. And then it brought me to where I am now, actually, as an entrepreneur in technology, building AI tools for healthcare.
If I were taking a deposition of you, I would go to each of the threads you just gave and be about 35 minutes per thread, but we'll do a little bit today. I'm going to do another show in a short period of time. I want to go into dancing because I didn't realize, how terrific a dancer you are and how much it meant to you in your life. Let's put the video on that you have. It's a 2-minute video. And what kind of dance is it going to be?
So this is kind of like a Bollywood dance, I'd say. And it's a very popular song and video from a movie. The song is called Chamak Chalo, and it was performed at Yale, where Shah Rukh Khan, who's a very famous Bollywood actor, was asked to come and give a speech, and then I was chosen as a student to perform with him. So
And Bollywood what is Bollywood?
Bollywood is basically India's version of Hollywood. So it is a giant film industry. I think it's the second biggest after Hollywood, or possibly bigger than Hollywood now, in terms of like viewers and output. And yeah, within Bollywood, you have song, dance, movies, and obviously very famous actors.
I believe it's very important for immigrants to come in and be involved in our country and be involved in, be mainstream, so to speak. But it's also very important. I mean, I take pride in my being Jewish. I take pride in my heritage, and you should take pride in your heritage. And I always believe that people who come over, let's say from Mexico, who speak Spanish, that they ought to teach their kids how to speak Spanish, because we're one United States of America, but we're also part of our own culture.
Absolutely.
Okay, so having said that, let's see your dancing. I'm dying to see it.
Sounds great.
And that's you dancing. I'm going to see in a second, right?
It is. It is me.
What you want, girl, just let me know. You can be my chumacachalo. Shawty.
So that is a little snippet.
That's very, very fine. You're a terrific dancer. I was good in dancing in some respects, but not, I couldn't do that. It'd probably take you about 3 weeks to teach me at least the first step. Tell me how dancing impacts what you do in your career.
I mean, I could write dissertations on this, but I'll just go into some high level points. Like I've mentioned to you before, I actually think both in clinic with patients and now on stages where I'm pitching my company as an entrepreneur, dance has probably been the most significant space of learning for me and preparation. I say that for a few reasons. One, within medicine, I think dance made me realize that so much of life, even scientific parts of life, like medicine, is obviously based on a lot of science, but it's actually so much art. And the reason it's art is because you're working with humans, and humans don't follow the textbook. They don't come in telling you, oh, yes, I have left lower groin pain, exactly in the place that we learn their symptoms should lead to diagnosis. They come with stories. They come with, my mom's feeling this way. It made me feel that way. And then I felt like it was related to my stomach pain, but I'm not sure. I'm feeling stressed out. And I think dance gives you a sense of how to read humans and express emotion to other humans, and that things don't follow rules. You actually need to go outside the rule book to understand humans. Secondly, from an entrepreneurship perspective, I think dance gave me an early sense that, as a performer, you can't let a bad performance or a rejection at an audition influence your next performance. You have to get very strong and adept at rejection because it's a huge part of art. Some audiences like it, some directors want you in their gigs, some don't. And in entrepreneurship, every day I am pitching customers, investors, and this idea that every pitch I need to be just as good, if not better, as the previous one, even if I have a pile of rejections from that morning. I learned entirely from dance.
I can't imagine someone rejecting you. If that happens, just give me a call. We'll go pound it a little bit. You became a doctor and you practiced medicine for how long?
So I actually became a doctor and went directly to entrepreneurship. Of all things, I did not practice independently, which was kind of, scandalous to my parents. They wanted me to kind of go a more conventional route, but also I have to say my parents are my greatest supporters. Like my parents have, I think, been aware for a long time that I have been atypical in some ways. Back from when I decided that my application essay to medical school was going to surround dance, to when I decided that I was going to go do a degree in gender in London, they kind of realized that I was going to take a winding and different path. I think when I decided to kind of go straight to entrepreneurship, and how I've made decisions in my career, my life, is timing matters. And when you have an opportunity that you think won't come back, really follow your gut. And I couldn't be more grateful that I did, because the timing was that my best friend from Yale, actually, and my undergrad roommate, Rachel, was ready to quit her job at that moment and go take the leap and be an entrepreneur too. And I knew she was the only person I could start a company with. And so that's why I took the leap.
I'm not so surprised that someone as bright and talented as you are went through a certain education path that included Yale undergraduate. And I will say this to you, I went to Yale undergraduate and Duke Law, and no offense to my friends at Duke, but the Yale kids were a little different intellectually. Those of us who went to law school were all interested in the law, whatever, but in Yale, you have all kinds of diverse people with different opinions and different desires and interests, et cetera. And I can see that along your path, you've found a path through your activities that led you to where you want to be. And a lot of people go to law school and say, I don't want to practice law. I just want to know how to think like a lawyer. Any comment about that?
Absolutely. I think that I had a similar experience in medical school as you. I loved University of Chicago so much, and I'm kind of a U Chicago kid because I went to lab school from like preschool through high school. So we're a very like U Chicago family. But I will say, like, the experience in medical school was, like you said, very focused on like, I want to be a doctor. I want to learn about medicine. And that's what I think most people in medical school feel. I felt, I felt I had to look a little outside of medical school environment to find my niche, because I knew I wanted to combine medicine and healthcare with something creative. And that's actually how I came to technology and AI development tools, because I wanted to be at an intersection of fields and interdisciplinary. But yeah, I would say that Yale was a little bit more the space in undergrad where I saw people thinking interdisciplinarily like that.
As a Chicago native, I don't know if I told you this, when I went to law school, I actually was going to go into an MBA. It's a business MBA, business administration degree, and law school as a joint program. And I was going to do either at Duke or Northwestern. And I chose Duke because the weather is nicer in North Carolina. Tell me a little. Oh yeah, although. And part of the problem also was they were in, I think one part of school, Northwestern, was in Evanston. Another part was another part. So it was not like close by. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to Duke. And then I decided to just do the law part of it and not the MBA part. So tell me a little bit about AI. How does AI, and we're not going to get all your information about what you're doing now in this show. There'll be another show following up. But just tell me briefly, how does AI, artificial intelligence, have any connection to the entrepreneur activity you're involved with in the medical field?
Absolutely. So AI, I think I strongly believe is going to change how medicine is practiced in a huge number of ways, but I'll focus in on where what we're doing came from. I think one of my standout experiences with patients, seeing patients, I've seen hundreds, probably thousands at this point of patients. And one of my standout experiences is that there's a lot that needs to go into gathering a patient's story and a patient's history that there just is not time for in the short. We have like 15-minute appointments at this point for outpatient medicine. And so there needs to be some way to gather their story where patients have a longer time to spend on it. So the way that we do that is we have AI voice robots that actually call patients in advance of their visit to give them a long, as long as they want to gather their story and their history. For more complex patients, it might be like a 10, 15-minute story, which you can imagine would take up the entire appointment. And we transcribe their story into a usable, medical-friendly format written into physician's note.
How does the robot know what questions to ask?
The reason, and that's a great question. So we're actually fine-tuning it, meaning we're training the AI agent to ask the clinically appropriate questions. Training of an AI is definitely critical to making it useful for a specific use case, for example, medicine, so that it knows it can act like an intelligent human that's trained. How we do that is we use large sets of clinical data, existing data of medical encounters, and what a physician wrote afterwards of what they found medically useful. So based on that, the AI learns, what is the most important thing? Do I need to ask after they say the pain has been 3 days? If the next thing you should ask is it sharp or stabbing pain, versus just moving on to, okay, and what medicines have you tried?
I hate the question. Mr. O'Ponsner, does your pain on a scale of 1 to 10, is it a 4? Is it an 8? Who the heck knows what that pain level is? The ideas that you have, are they copyrightable? Are they patented? How do you protect what you're doing from someone else stealing your ideas?
Yeah, I mean, we have, our own intellectual property, which is like our own AI trained agent. So, for example, obviously the training that we've done on it for a long time now is only accessible to us and to our customers at this point. So that's really how we protect it. And I would say, the winners in this field are those who have access to the best clinical data. The best way to make an AI that's useful is to train it very well. And so the way we really protect our IP is by having unique access, mostly through my medical contacts at, from University of Chicago to Stanford and Yale. I've had the chance to work with incredible medical mentors that have given us access to patient data.
I have a very, very close friend who is semi-retired now, but he developed a company with another fellow. And this is back in the early mid 1980s. And it was called Medical Marketing Group, essentially was the name it had. And what they did is, let's suppose a doctor, well, your father's a cardiologist, right? One of your parents.
Yeah, my dad is an interventional cardiologist. Yeah.
Right. So let's suppose a cardiologist has 4 or 5 different medications he could prescribe that are appropriate for some particular illness. The data of knowing what doctors in the New England states would prescribe versus those, let's say, in Arizona would prescribe was very important data. And they found a way. Now, that's many years ago. So the methodology for getting data is so much different now. But essentially, having data on these, what doctors would prescribe, was very critical. And they were successful in selling a company that sold a company that ultimately became purchased by Merck Medco. So I don't know if that concept is at all related to what you're doing, or is it totally unrelated? Maybe it's unrelated. I won't be offended.
No, I think it's completely related. I think there's a number of ways that AI is going to change healthcare, and I would say the majority of them surround things that are very time consuming but would significantly improve patient care, but that are really not necessary to have a human, like a highly trained physician doing. And I would say the highly trained physician should be on the art of medicine. And this brings my story back to art versus the science of medicine. The science can be done by a robot, right? We know ChatGPT can pass medical boards exams. So everything from calling patients to developing algorithms to predict their clinical severity to making sure their forms are filled out. That is how I see AI absolutely transforming medicine. The rest of it, the human interaction, that's got to stay a human.
Who would have had a better GPA at Yale? You and me, or the ChatGPT? I'm sure you and I had a better GPA than they would have had.
Honestly, it's hard to say because ChatGPT is getting pretty impressive, and Claude, which is Google's competitor, is actually very impressive as well.
Well, I won't brag about my GPA if you don't brag about your GPA. How about that? I was a magnet. You're probably Summa. You're Summa?
I was Magna as well, I think.
Oh, okay, they were equal. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We have about 1 minute left in the show, and we have a lot to tie into for our next show. But can you, in 30 seconds, just tell me, how do you go about marketing? What is your selling point? Are you selling yourself to the medical field, the doctors, the hospitals? Who is your target? And we have like 30 seconds left. Who is your target audience to sell what you have to sell?
Absolutely. Our target audience is physicians broadly, because really I see this being the future of how all physicians work. Physicians should do human things. Computers should do logic things. So we market to physicians. Specifically right now, we're looking at independent private practices, community practices, and in the future, moving towards hospital systems.
Natalia, it's been such a pleasure. It's been, like I told you, it'd be like having a milkshake at a Friendly's or something. You're going to come back, you promise?
I would love to. This has been really fun.
This has been great. This has been Babo Potster on The Bobby O Show with a phenomenal guest, Natalia Khosla. Have a nice day. We'll see you again, Natalia.
Thank you.